In this video, I'll be sharing with you 5 inexpensive Easter decor DIYs as part of a playlist, and I'll tell you more about that a little later. For this DIY, I'm reusing a Valentine book stack from Dollar Tree. I've removed the ribbon and I'm going to be painting some light pastel colors on these. But first I'm going to paint with Waverly chalk paint in white. I started out with the acrylics directly on those books and the original color was showing through just way too much. Also, I'll be using the bottom as the top since it's much lighter. The top book I'm painting with Candy Pink from Apple Barrel. And I'll be painting the top of the stack as well as all the way around those edges. For the middle book, I'm using the Apple Barrel color called Cloudless. I haven't seen this before, but it is a beautiful light pastel blue. The bottom book will get a coat of Wisteria multi-surface Apple Barrel paint. I'm using this ribbon from Dollar Tree with the bunnies, and I was trying to figure out what fourth color I could use that would match the ribbon, and I ended up using yellow. I'm using Posca markers to write out hippity hoppity. And then I made a line in between the books, kind of defining them since I went overboard with the paint and got down in those creases. So now I'll just tie a bow on there with this ribbon and fluff it up. And I dovetail the ends. This is not wired ribbon, but it is pretty sturdy, I have to say. I put a little bit of hot glue under that knot and added some eucalyptus leaves. I thought of adding a flower, but I think the ribbon is busy enough on its own, and the leaves turned out really nice. So did the whole project. I'm super happy with this. Except for hoppity not being the same size letters as hippity, but I'll get over it. That's what you get when you try your own handwriting instead of using a Cricut or Dollar Tree stickers. The challenge I'm participating in today is the 5 under $5 open playlist. This is hosted every month by Missy of Crafty Cove DIY and Emily from Forum Charm Chic, and their guest host this month is Tammy from Happiness Created. I'll be leaving links to those 3 ladies' channels in the descriptions, along with a link for this playlist, so I hope you'll check those out when you're done here. For this DIY, I'm using a Dollar Tree glass candlestick and a couple of little jars that I also found in the candle holder section. And the first thing I'm going to do is glue one of those on top of the glass candlestick. And I'm just using regular hot glue for that. Put that candle holder on top and try to center it as best as possible. Now I'm going to use this Dollar Tree ribbon that says Happy Easter. Isn't that sweet? I thought I was going to put this ribbon on both candle holders, but it ends up, in the end, I liked it with just being on the one on the candlestick. Once I had my bow tied and all fluffed up, I put a little dot of hot glue behind the knot and fixed the ribbon so that it's on the bottom part of the jar. Or candle holder, I should say, and then dovetail the ends. and give it a little more fluff. Now I'm going to add a little bit of reindeer moss in the bottom, and I do that with both of the candle holders. Then I took some of the Dollar Tree speckled eggs and put, well, to start with I put one in each of the candle holders, but I went back and put a second one. Thought it looked much better with the two, and I'm trying to just match up the colors of eggs that will go best with the ribbon. There, I'm starting on the second one, and here's how they turned out. Super simple, super cute. For this DIY, I'm using one of these round signs from Dollar Tree, and I've already painted one coat of the Waverly white chalk paint on the back. And I'll be applying this free printable that I printed off on cardstock, and I'll leave the link for this for you below in the descriptions. And what I'm doing is just cutting around the detail on there, which was a little bit time consuming, I'm not gonna lie, but the end result is so pretty. I made sure to get Mod Podge all on those little points hanging down all the way around the edge, and I didn't put any in the center because I don't want it to try to wrinkle up on me. And then I just centered it up on that round sign, used my silicone makeup applicator to squish those ends down, brushing outward on those. And then once it dried, I went into my stash of ribbon. I didn't have exactly the color pink I needed, so I chose some mauve looking ribbon, and here I'm using the little yellow satin ribbon for a hanger. I doubled the ribbon, pulled loops through to the back, pulled those ends through the loop, and voila. And then I tied a knot. That's going to be the hanger. And then what was excess on that hanger, cut off and put in the middle of this little mauve color bow I made. Just tying it around the center there. And then I'm going to hot glue that on top of that hole at the top. And y'all, that's all it needed. Not a lot of fussing about this. It's so pretty, just like that. I did go back around some of the edges and kind of touched up the paint here and there where it was a little streaky. And that's it. There you go. Here I'm using a Dollar Tree candle holder, and I'm going to be painting it with some white Waverly chalk paint. I picked this up last fall, and I do like the gold coppery color, but I want to turn this into a bunny. The bunny's got to have ears, so I'm going to take some of that scrap cardstock that I cut away in the last DIY, and I'm going to make a template for some ears. This first cut is kind of small, so I actually used one of those to cut out some pink out of the Crafter's Square foam sheets to go on the inside of the white cardstock ears. There we go. Now I'm going to glue those together. Just a line of hot glue down the center, pop that little pink on there, and then I'm taking a paint marker and making just some little raggedy edges to look like fur. And I don't want those ears flopping down before Easter gets here, so I'm going to glue them onto some popsicle sticks. Now sturdy them right up. Now adding some hot glue at the back side of that candle holder, I'm going to stand the ears up And I just propped them up with a little piece of extra pipe cleaner, extra popsicle stick I had laying there so they wouldn't flop over before they got dry. And this step was really unnecessary. I put some of the moss sheets in the bottom. I'm going to be putting flowers on the top of this, like a floral crown. So, like I said, the moss sheets weren't really necessary. I've cut off a variety of colors of these little Dollar Tree miniature roses, and I'm gluing them on like such. And now I need a bunny nose. The only pom-poms that I have in nice colors are too big for a nose. So I used one of those pink ones for a little pink poofy tail. And then I took some brown pipe cleaners and made whiskers. I'm going to be using one of those tan colored small pom-poms that you see on the upper left there. I guess I could have painted that pink, but I just left it as it is. Gluing its little face on. And I went over the backs of those popsicle sticks so I could actually display this somewhere that you could see the back. I didn't add eyes. I thought googly eyes would be too much, too crazy looking. So she's kind of a gnomey bunny in that respect, that she doesn't have a mouth or eyes. What do you think? Should I go back and add some eyes on there? Y'all know I had to do a trash to treasure. I'm taking these two Tostito salsa and queso dip jars and removing the labels. Then I'm going to use some Goo Gone to get that residual sticky off. Then I will take those to the sink and wash those good with Dawn dish soap. On one of the jars I'll be using the colors Wisteria and Daybreak. And on the other jar I'll be using Cloudless and Candy Pink. I paint all the way around the jars, 2 coats of that, so I don't have so much streaking before I start with the decorating of these. On the yellow one, I'm going to be using the Wisteria. I'm using a stamper first to get some circles on there. And I learned that you need to rock the brush to get it circular, like so, so it will go around the sides of the jar. I went back in and did some little half circles here and there. And then I'm going to take a small paintbrush and make some little ziggy-zaggies around the jar. For the pink, I'm drawing a straight line at the top and bottom of the jar. Then I'm going to go in between that with kind of a swirly line. I don't know what you would call that. Not quite a ziggy-zaggy because it's more rounded off. And then once I got all the way around, I did some little polka dots in between those lines, like that and that, that. This one was so much easier to decorate, and I think it turned out prettier than the other one that I put the most effort in. I will be using those lids from the jars, and I'm going to paint just around the edge with celery chalk paint. I'll go all the way around that. I'm not worried about getting a heavy coverage. I just wanted to cover up the purple and orange for the most part. I'm almost out of the celery paint, and at this point it's more chalk paste than chalk paint. I'm going to use the lid as a template to cut out a piece of this moss sheet. I'm cutting out one for each lid. And I'm just getting the general circular pattern going on here, and then I'll trim it to size once it's glued on. I laid down some hot glue, then laid down my moss sheet, and then trimmed around, straightening that up. And those little pieces that are falling down, I'm going to use those too. I'm going to take those little bits of burlap or whatever they're glued onto out and put that, sprinkle that on to the little spots that are kind of thin. You can see the jar lid coming through. Sprinkle that right on top. And then the last thing I do is add some of these cute little styrofoam eggs from Dollar Tree. I got these from my friend Anna over at Grace Life DIY. And I'm putting a bunch of 3 on the top of each lid. And that is that. Here's how they turned out. And I think they're super duper cute. And they cost very little money because it's a trash to treasure. That's all for this 5 for $5 video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, let me know by leaving a thumbs up. And if you had a favorite project that I did today, let me know in the comments. Until next time, bye-bye, and I hope you have a very happy Easter.